Cook, who was a British navigator, was born in 1728, England. He grew up on a farm and attended village school. When he was 17, he worked at Stansted as a shopkeeper. Historians have speculated that it was where Cook first felt the lull of the sea while gazing out of the shop window later. He joined the British Merchant Navy as a teenager and joined the Royal Navy in 1755. He made detailed maps of Newfoundland prior to making the voyage to the Pacific Ocean. After he saw action in the 7 Years' War, he surveyed and mapped the entrance to the St. Lawrence River, getting attention of the Admiralty and the Royal Society by that, and it led him to his commission in 1766 as commander for the first of 3 Pacific voyages. He sailed thousands of miles across the globe and mapped lands from New Zealand to Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. Then he died in Hawaii 1779.
During Captain Cook's first voyage, he wasn't yet a captain. The first voyage aimed to observe the path of Venus from Tahiti. The voyage began in 1768, commissioned by King George III. From Tahiti, they went to New Zealand, stopping at many islands along the way. For 6 months, they mapped out its coast, believing they were the first to discover it, but in reality, they were the second Europeans to go to New Zealand. He became the first European to discover Australia, nearly shipwrecking himself on the Great Barrier Reef. Shortly after, they returned to England on July 12, 1771.
In August 1771, government officials in England appointed James Cook to be the captain of his second voyage.
Thank you very much for your efforts on your first voyage, James Cook. I now promote you as Captain Cook and wish you luck on your next voyage in discovering the southern continents. Now rise, Captain James Cook.
I humbly take this mission to discover the southern continent and to promote further astronomical observations.
2 ships are secured. Captain Cook will be in charge of the Resolution, and Captain Tobias Fairnex will be in charge of the Adventure. On July 13, 1772, Cook departs from Plymouth Sound to carry out his second voyage. Cook's crew includes naturalists, astronomers, and the expedition's official artist, William Hodges. While Hodges drew coastal views for the navigational purposes, a large part of his work was to gather material for landscape paintings. In January 1773, Cook's ships made their first crossing of Antarctic Circle and were the first to be able to declare they have been further south than anyone else. The 2 ships were separated, and then they met again in New Zealand during February or between May 1773. They then took sail to set off to explore the Central Pacific, stopping in Tahiti and then from there the islands of Ratier. While in the Raiatea Islands, right by Tahiti, James Cook stopped on his ship and met a young man native to the island named Omai. James Cook asked Omai, "Would you like to come with me to England for a new adventure?" And Omai thought about it for a minute and decided, "Yes, I will try that." And they went on their way for a new adventure. Cook's reception from the natives wasn't always very friendly. There was sometimes a hostile environment between the ship crew and the native islanders. Cook wrote in his notebook that on August 4, 1774, "I was very loath to fire upon such a multitude and resolved to make the chief alone fall a victim to his own treachery. Happy for many of these poor people, not half our muskets would go of otherwise, may more must have fallen.
When the weather finally permitted them to go back to Tahiti on August 12, 1777, Omai finally was returned home.
Although the two ships, the Resolution and the Adventure, were separated a couple times during their voyage, they both made great contributions to advance the further knowledge of the world. They discovered new islands in the Pacific. They went to New Zealand again. They went to Tahiti, even South America, and also South Africa. They ended their 3-year voyage very successfully when they arrived back in England.
Cook's third journey took place between 1776 and 1779. The purpose was to discover the Northwest Passage. Captain Cook became the first European to visit the Hawaiian Islands on January 18, 1778. They landed first in Kauai. 1. He then went on to explore the west coast of North America. He arrived in the Oregon coast and named the site Cape Foulweather. He then went on to the Bering Strait and in a single visit charted the majority of the North American northwest coastline on world maps for the first time. The Bering Strait was impassable. His crew ran out of food and had to eat walrus meat. Eventually, they went back to Maui. Cook made landfall at Kealakekua Bay on Hawaii Island. Cook was treated as an incarnation of a god, Lono. Cook left to continue exploring, but his ship's mast broke, so they had to go back to Hawaii. Cook tried to take the king of Hawaii hostage to get the return of stolen goods, but he was stabbed to death by the Hawaiians, and then they dragged his body away, disemboweled, had the flesh removed, and used his bones as religious icons. Later, the British took his body and returned it to England. After Cook's death, the two ships had to find their way back to Britain to report what happened. The red lines on this map show the route that they took before Cook's death, and the blue represents after his death.
Captain James Cook kicked off many new astronomical studies and observations with his trip to Tahiti. In addition to the first declaration of Antarctica, and also his knowledge of native culture that he gained with his time spent with Omai, he also discovered many islands and mapped out the majority of the northwest coastline. Captain James Cook opened the door to many new voyagers to make many new discoveries around the world. Thank you for your time.